right, it's talk time now. President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered an investigation of officials in his administration accused of corruption.
The statement by Buhari's spokesman Garba Shehu indicated the president's directive to the Attorney General of the Federation. The development comes days after the secretary to the government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, was accused of mismanaging funds meant for internally displaced persons in the Northeast.
Meanwhile, the Senate says it will officially write President Muhammadu Buhari over what it calls provocative comments credited to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Babachir Lawal is quoted to have described Senate's resolution that he resigns from office for alleged corruption as a charade and the balderdash.
Senators said the comments are an affront on its constitutional powers, even as it wants the presidency to take a stern action against the government scribe. It vows to continue with its investigations into the alleged diversion of funds meant for internally displaced persons by top government officials such as the Secretary to the Government of the Federation.
Move in strong terms this morning that, Mr. President, you need to protect the institution of the Nigerian Senate so that nobody wakes up tomorrow and begin to commit us to ridicule and insults. That this is beyond mere communication between the clerk, either of the National Assembly or the Senate and the President. That the leadership of this Senate must directly communicate our resolution yesterday to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that should be done on time. No amount of intimidation, blackmail, harassment, name-calling should detract our attention from championing the fight against corruption in this country.
Whatever languages he chooses to address the Senate, if he had used half of that time to deny what the specifics were in respect of the allegation, it will have been more helpful to him and more helpful to the person who appointed him into that office. We have an investigation to complete. We are determined to do that. And we are irrevocably determined to do that.
Yesterday, we all heard the president, the number one citizen of this country, humbly telling us that he's seeking cooperation with National Assembly. And how can his own secretary tell us we're talking rubbish? The two conversations are not in sync. The committee will finish their work. We will communicate the resolution of yesterday to Mr. President. Normally, our resolution should go to the SGF, but since the SGF is involved here, this resolution will have to go to the President.
All right, that's the foundation of our discussion right now. We have with us in the studio a lawyer and an anti-corruption crusader, Ahmed Abbas. It's good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
All right. We'll first go on a break and then we come back to do more on this discussion. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.
All right, we have with us in the studio a lawyer, Ahmed Abbas, to weigh in on this issue of the allegations by the Nigerian Senate and, of course, the response coming from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation himself. What is your first reaction to this?
For a government that stipulated at its very inauguration that it has three key focus: corruption, unemployment, and insecurity. Corruption, and in fact, one of the major reasons why a lot of people voted for Buhari, the honest truth was that people were tired of corruption. We all know from inception, he's not a Harvard-trained economics. That's the honest truth. The major credential that he paraded was that people were actually nauseated, angry, and bitter about the level of corruption, the nauseating state of our corruption has infested every area. So people were willing to accommodate his weakness in other areas. Nobody is parading him as a top-notch intellectual or a Harvard-trained economist. But one thing that he paraded that endeared him to a lot of Nigerians was that he's not the regular political thief that you have in the corridors of power. And he will do himself a lot of good by ensuring that that brand that he carries, that signature, he should maintain it regardless of whosoever
So
is involved.
this is not just an indictment on the Secretary of Government, but the President himself.
Absolutely. On the entire government. On the entire government. Because if he failed, the honest truth is that the major problem we have in this country is not lack of sound economic policies. It's not lack of intellectuals or, people with intelligence who can run a first-class system and organizations. The problem is that we are bogged down with corruption.
But the presidency will come out and say, okay, there is a statement now that the Attorney General has been ordered to investigate this matter. But a couple of questions and riders to such questions. Is it the Attorney General that is meant to investigate? And the names of those particular officers were not even mentioned in the statement.
The Attorney General is a law officer of the nation.
Okay.
If they are going to prosecute anybody,
Okay.
he's going to be the prosecutor,
Okay.
the office of the Attorney General. So the president is right referring it to the AG for investigation, because the office of the Attorney General is the one that will prosecute on behalf of the federal government. I think he has taken the right step. All we need to do is wait for the outcome of that investigation. Because
right.
as we sit here, we can't say whether it's an allegation. And so we must be patient for them to do them. And they should be honest with Nigerians.
All right, now we hear, if we hear a lot of comments coming out from, we just played the report from the Senate now, where senators used really very strong words. And on the pages of newspapers, with your word against my word, his word against mine, it seems this war is fought more outside there on the media and pages of newspaper than even in the real procedure that such kind of investigations are supposed to take.
You see, ordinarily in a well-structured system where institutions know what they are set up to do, the president does not even need to tell the AG to investigate. Before the election in US, we saw an officer voluntarily deciding to say, look, I have in my custody new emails. I'm going to look at the emails critically and make a public pronouncement. He didn't need any prodding from Barack Obama. The institutions are so weak, and even the quality of men presiding over this institution, maybe because of the mood of their appointment, they see themselves as more, being done a favor. So when they get there, there's always this tendency to pander and look at the body language of the person who appointed you to know whether he wants you to do what is right or not, what is not right. Institutions should be strengthened so that they will do what they are supposed to do. Ordinarily, once it becomes a public issue, that an officer, there's an allegation, the institution responsible, EFCC, should go into action. They don't need the prodding of the president. It's just in this part of the world, like Sanusi was saying, the Emir of Kano, he said, it's only in this part of the world that to prosecute criminals, you need courage. What courage do you need to prosecute a criminal?
Okay. My producer just gave me a question now to ask you that why are the Senate asking for his resignation? But I'd like to couch it this way and perhaps support it with some fact. That the investigation carried out by the Nigerian Senate revealed, according to them, that this particular company in question belonged to Babachir Lawal, although he had said he resigned as a board member. But I'd like to take us to the Criminal Code Act, Part 3, where you talked about the issue of corruption and abuse of office, Section 98, that says anything already done or omitted or in any favor or disfavor already shown to any person by himself in the discharge of his official duties or in relation to any matter connected with the functions, affairs, or business of a government department, public body, or other organization and institution. And he went on. And even if you go further in that particular section, said anything that likely, not even categorically, but likely. So if you base this argument, is that why you think the Senate is asking Babachir Lawal to resign?
Let me just compartmentalize, because there are two issues you have raised now.
Yes.
The issue of the clamor of the Senate. For me, as a person, I say this with due respect. They themselves do not even have the moral right to ask anybody to resign. They've had several indictments on them, several serious allegations on them. Did they resign?
So you can't approbate and reprobate at the same time. Nobody will take them serious. I'm sorry to say we have distinguished members of the national, very respectable Nigerians, but there are some of them that nobody will take them serious. You are asking him to resign. Have you resigned? Several times there were serious indictments, even on the Senate president. And some of them, they are not showing good examples. Show good example. If you had resigned and you are now calling for somebody to resign, then we say, yes, okay, somebody has set a precedent. You've never done that. For me, that's another different ball game. They don't know that Nigerians are we are getting tired. We are really frustrated with the quality of leadership that these people are giving to us. We are tired. If you listen and interrogate an average man on the street, they don't even have any hope in this country. They are tired. They are bitter because the system is skewed in favor of this leadership, the political class, who will constantly make laws to favor them. One of them will have 100 policemen to guide them. You see a whole community being invaded by robbers and terrorists and kidnappers. Nothing is being done. The system as of today is skewed and structured in such a way that it's for the elite, not for the man on the street. And as for the position of the law, you see, once you are going into a public office, there is every tendency that if you are involved in a company, in the management of a company or ownership of a company, and that company bids for a contract, and you are seated in a position where you could influence the outcome in favor of that company.
According to the law.
According to the law, you are supposed to do everything possible to ensure that even if you are under investigation, it will be very obvious that you had no interference at all in the decision. And if you know that in going to public office, let me just give you a tip. Let's assume that I run a construction company and I'm going into government as the president of this country. And there is every likelihood that that company one day will bid for the construction of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. I must remove myself from having interest. If that company is going to bid, if I have to outrightly sell or allocate my shares and exit, as at that time, so that whether they are bidding or not bidding, I do not have any benefit to gain.
According to the response of the Secretary General, he said he resigned.
He said he resigned from the board since September.
He actually said August. It was Senator insisted that he actually resigned in September, not August.
If he resigns, maybe the essence is just to create a situation where he will no longer be involved in the day-to-day management of the decision-making process, or so that he could free himself in facing government listening. But the outcome ultimately, the outcome of the investigation will ultimately determine where he stands in the whole of this allegation.
All right. Now, if we get along, even though the president has said that the case be investigated, now a lot of people have different reaction. Like you said, Nigerians are tired of all of this, and when it comes to this, Nigerians, we've been speaking to people, ordinary people, about this thing, and they say, well, we know there won't be anything out of it. What impact will perception of Nigerians have on this process?
Well, it depends on which school of thought you belong to. For me, as a person,
we don't belong to any.
No. It depends. I'm talking generally. It depends on which school, because allegation remains allegations until they are established. We do not need to work on rumors and allegations. They need to be proven. Because if we were to rely simply on allegations, for political reasons, anybody can cook up allegations against you. And if we say, okay, anytime there's an allegation against you, you must resign, then we are going to find ourselves in a very, very messy situation where, for political differences, people will lay very serious allegations against you. What I want is this. After investigation, if it's found wanting, the president should demonstrate that the ability to show him the way
the
out.
Courage.
Yes, the courage. Yes, the courage to show him the way out, so that he will demonstrate to Nigerians that actually he's not just fighting corruption in words, but even in deed. And it will restore confidence that regardless of the status of the person, the president will do what is right. That is the only thing that will make Nigerians happy because they are tired of corruption.
Okay. We are discussing the Senate versus the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. There's been a war of words the past few days, and we played some of them. When we come back from this break, we certainly have the words of Babachir Lawal, and we will play that for you to also hear. We have with us in the studio lawyer Ahmed Abbas. He is an anti-corruption advocate. We've been discussing this. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.
Now, concerning the charade in the Senate of today, the best I can describe it is the Hausa language that says kame kame. They are just hunting for something with which to embarrass someone. When I was appointed Secretary to the Government of the Federation, I resigned from that company on 18th August 2015. I can see in the report they are talking about 2016. I don't know where they got their facts. And by the way, it is very instructive that while the committee was sitting, no effort was ever made to invite me to come and make a submission. It's therefore surprising that they devoted the whole session of today at maligning me.
All right, those you just listened to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation there, Babachir Lawal, and he mentioned something. He said he has never been invited to the committee. So how is the investigation being carried out, at least for the sake of fair hearing?
If what he's saying is a fact, it falls short of the minimum standard of any inquiry, the process. You must give the other party an opportunity to tell his own side of the story.
According to the Senate, that a letter was written from another report I saw, that a letter was written to the office of the Secretary General, and a permanent secretary from that ministry responded instead of himself. His name is Aminu Negebo, answered and made one or two explanations based on the findings of the Senate. So I don't understand where the disconnect is coming from.
Well, very unfortunate, and that means there's a communication gap. And if indeed his office actually got an invitation from or a report from the Senate, he should respond. He should respond as a gentleman. And one of the other language he used in his opening remark was, the charade in the Senate and things like that. I think we should be very presidential in our languages. You can disagree with somebody, but very prudent in choice of words. It's an institution.
Exactly. I was going to come to you on that. Yeah. Remember, we played. We had the Senate President earlier when he used the word rubbish. Yes. What the Secretary to Government of the Federation was saying, and when it comes to strong words, strong languages like that, how do I put it? The point there is when institutions like the National Assembly, the office of, because this is not about the individuals, it's about the institution. Yeah. When words like this are used, what messages does this send out? What signal does it send out?
It simply demonstrates that even occupiers of our public offices have not learned the protocol of occupying very sensitive and important positions. You could disagree with somebody, use very civilized words, and still make your point.
But what's the difference between what they have said and what our president said when he went and said Nigerians are corrupt?
That Nigerians are corrupt. Well, the honest truth is that sometimes in public conversation, when you are trying to state the fact, like on several fora, I would say it categorically, you do not, except we want to talk like diplomats from two sides of our mouth. Our institutions are corrupt. Go to your immigration department at the airport. You are traveling out and you are carrying just one small bag of, one nylon of egusi or ogbono. Your immigration guy will tell you that you need to go and get one certificate from the outer space, simply to create a tension. And the end result is for them to extort 1,000 naira from you. Go to your immigration office in Alausa here, opposite ShopRite. They convert Nigerians to ATM. They will tell you you can't get passport in one day. if you pay the official price. But if you pay the unofficial price.
The point is the effects of such statements, and of course the ripple effect on you remember after that statement that Nigerians are corrupt, or perhaps was it the one that Nigerians are criminals? Like I'm not sure now, but then there was something like that, and you know the ripple effect of
he should have qualified it, because you can't say all Nigerians are corrupt. You can't say that all Nigerians are corrupt. That's a lie. You can't say all lawyers are corrupt. That's a lie. You can't say all journalists are corrupt. You can't say all doctors are quacks. That's a lie. So you must constantly qualify.
Okay, so the unguarded statement thing is coming from the top, isn't it?
Yes. You observe when I was saying, I opened my statement by saying there are respectable members of the National Assembly. But of course, we're also intelligent enough to look at sometimes their actions and say, do they represent lawmaking for the interest of the people? When you are buying car in a recession period of 16 million naira, you are not taking into cognizance the suffering, the pain, the sacrifice you are requiring. It shows gross irresponsibility.
And insensitivity.
Insensitivity. You can't be telling, if you are working in an organization, your MD keep telling you there's no money to pay salary. But he can afford to buy a Lamborghini and buy a Prado Jeep and buy all the rest of them. He keeps telling you at the end of the month, there's no money to pay salary. You won't take it seriously. So that's the essence. We must constantly qualify. The president going out, he should qualify. Some Nigerians are actually corrupt. Some institutions are actually corrupt. Not all Nigerians. Because I can speak for vast majority, millions of Nigerians are not corrupt. They are hardworking Nigerians who are just looking for a decent environment to earn a living. It's only the minorities in the political class who are just distorting and bankrupting the entire system.
All right, now there has been the focus on, when it comes to the anti-corruption drive, there's so much focus on what the president, the presidency, the federal government is. But a lot of Nigerians don't even look around the state government and the state level, how things are going. How would you relate that? How would you assess that?
You know, because the reason why it's so is there's too much power in the hands of the president.
Okay.
That's the problem. The president, our Nigerian president is the most powerful in the whole world. If you know the number of appointments he has to make, I'm telling you, at the end of the day, he might not even be able to make sound decision. Because when you have too many people to appoint, you are going to rely on your brothers, your cousins, your nephew, your wife.
Because you
your
can
daughter.
know everybody.
How many do you, if you have close to more than 100,000, 200,000 people to appoint into our boards, how many of them do you know personally in terms of... So you are going to rely on your friends, say, I have a problem. And so those ones will now position themselves and say, yes, I need to bring in one of my friends that went to school together.
So does this underscore the allegations of a cabal?
It has always been like that. Most times you see people come on board, you can't even say the criteria for their appointment. And you just look at it and say, does this man have what it takes to occupy this position? No, because the president needs to rely on one person, one cousin, one nephew somewhere, one minister, one somewhere, one political elite in one corner of the country to say, give me somebody there and all the rest of them. That's what happened. But if you decentralize, if you decentralize much power to the local government and the state level, then people begin to look more to their state government because they know what is the subject matter within their purview. But as of today, the president controls virtually every dimension, every aspect of our life. That's the honest truth. He controls everything. He controls virtually. Even the governors depend on the president. You have people kidnapping. If the CP is not in good time with the governor, if the IG or the president tells the IG, post the CP from Rivers State or Lagos State back to South and give him somebody that will not be in good terms with him, the governor of that state will be in problem. You saw what happened in Rivers State. Because the president is too powerful. Until we restructure and, cut down the power of the president so that people will hold the local government more accountable. What was the federal government doing about environmental in one local government and say you have FEPA, Federal Environmental Protection Agency? Every environment is located within a local government or a state. And all the rest of so we must, if we do not restructure the way this country is being run today, we can't run fast, very fast.
All right, back to Babachir case, and let's look at some physical evidence that we as laymen can even see. This particular company, according to the records of the CAC, was incorporated as an ICT company, Information and Communication Technology Company. And we don't know what that company has to do with grass cutting right now. An ICT company now cutting grass, that's that's one. Then secondly, it's for even a blind man to say, okay, the money spent in the Northeast is not really being seen. you don't even need a binoculars to see that, really. So those are physical evidences anywhere in the world.
Two things. As to the legal character of a company, I do not know whatever procedure they adopted. You can form an organization today, and tomorrow, under the law, you are permitted. You can change your object clause. You can. After 1 year, if you decide to say, okay, because the company is a human being, it's a legal entity, you can take decision, pass resolution, and say, you know what? Construction business is no longer paying us. We need to diversify.
Okay.
All the law requires is for them to pass a resolution, changing your object clause, and you go back to CAC and file. That initially, I was into construction. Now I want to diversify into agriculture. I don't want to
maintain the name.
I don't want to set up a new company
Okay.
because the procedure might be cumbersome and
Okay,
things
if
like
tomorrow they take up ICT job again,
can.
what do we do?
that. You can, yes.
Okay, they still
A
can.
construction company can decide to diversify and say, look, I want to go into ICT. All the law requires is that you must change your object clause because at inception, you told CAC, this is what I want to go into. That's the basis on which they give you your certificate. So when you want to go into agriculture, it is incumbent on you to come back. The board of directors will pass a resolution. It is hereby passed. We want to diversify into agriculture. And you file that resolution with CAC. It forms part of your record. So whether they did that, I do not know. But under the law, they are permitted. But sometimes it's just the same way we use political connections to corner things. Sometimes it happens like that people who ordinarily are into construction and all the rest of them, when it comes to supplying baby food and all the rest of them, because they have cronies in public offices, they use the position to just corner this. It's possible. It happens day in, day out. That's why every Nigerian is looking for opportunity, what I call connection, because the biggest industry in Nigeria is politics. Everybody wants political connection because the only way people think they can survive to get big contracts is not about their competence. It's about their political connection. You having somebody as a secretary to the government, as a minister, and that's why the corruption circle within the political circle is so much, because the money flowing there is a function of who you know, and it's a free money because it's not commensurate with the job they are doing. That's why everybody wants to be a contractor.
All right. Ahmed Abbas, thank you very much for coming on the program right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there's so much to be said on this. Is a developing and an ongoing story, the face-off between the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in Nigeria and the Senate. Well, certainly we'll be looking at how these things play out. All Nigerians want to see is just transparency and straightforwardness and the institutions working. This is where we come to the end of today's edition of the program. Tomorrow we'll be back again with other issues. I am Mike Okwoche. You can follow me for updates around Nigeria, Africa, and parts of the world using my Twitter handle at @MOkwocheTVC.
Right, I am Busolami Tuashi, and my Twitter handle is at Busisolami TVC. Let me say it again, Busisolami at TVC. I'd like to hear from you. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Bye.